Hard to imagine, isn't it, in this day and age, how a superstar could simply walk away from $1 million. That's right. $1 million basically for doing, well, kind of just being yourself. But this is incredibly what happened to a superstar in the early 1960s. And as ever, this story may surprise you. Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here in the very heart of London. And as ever, nice to have your company. Always lovely to see you. Whatever you're doing, keep safe, keep warm. As I often say, I know on this show, I've been lucky enough to meet so many wonderful people. And when you think about it, you look back at some of the stories they tell you, because what I've also found with older stars, particularly when they've had a long and very successful career, they want to make sure that, they tell you their version of events. And it's fascinating. I met a rock and roller recently who told me about a secret meeting he had with Elvis Presley, who was very keen, to come over to the United Kingdom, but simply couldn't get past the manager. That's how powerful they were then. This particular story really centers upon a lady who really, even today in 2023, the public image is just embedded in the conscious. Everybody knows Marilyn Monroe. And it's incredible to think, isn't it, that she left us over, 60 years ago now. Incredible to think about it. But of course, sadly, she did. What's interesting to note here is when I was talking to Robert Vaughn, who knew her a little bit, as he openly told me, all thanks to being at the Actors Studio, the Lee Strasberg Method Acting School in New York, he said she was a fantastically gifted woman, not just gifted, but very bright too. As I've told you before, she was the very first woman to set up her own production company independently to try and make major feature films at a point when movies were going into decline in the 1950s. But it's this particular area I wanted to focus on because he kind of reignited that thought looking back at that particular interview. Way back in April and May of 1962, Marilyn had started what would be her very final film for 20th Century Fox, Something's Got to Give. And the bottom line was, it was a troubled production, not really regarding Marilyn as now being documented, but as Robert Vaughn told me, also Jack Lemmon's son. The bottom line was there wasn't really a finished script, but that didn't suit the Fox narrative. You get the point even then. Everybody was playing games. But of course, Marilyn was very, very annoyed by the fact that another Fox co-star, Elizabeth Taylor, was picking up $1 million to star in Cleopatra. This was a first, as I told you recently, a mega first for a movie star, particularly in America. And Marilyn felt, she was getting $100,000 to star in Something's Got to Give, which was part of the contract from Fox from 1956. It wasn't enough, but it would be her final film. But what she really wanted was to be back on the front covers of all of those glossy magazines. So she did what she knew best. And basically, she decided to disrobe for this now famous swimming pool scene within the movie. Now, there were just 3 people on set, including the director, George Cukor, when this particular scene was shot. One guy was a 19-year-old photographer called Larry Schiller. Very young, but slightly experienced, some might say. He was able to take these incredible shots of Marilyn, which was a first, as I say, for the motion picture industry. No major movie star had appeared naked on film. And really, it's not naked, they're very tastefully done. But again, rather shocking for 1962. The first honor would that then go to would be another blonde rival, Jane Mansfield, who did the very same thing in Promises, Promises a couple of years later. But what's interesting here is, as I say, she, Marilyn herself had decided that she wanted to be back on the front of the glosses. And by disrobing, she knew she could do this. So she agreed to do it, take the swimming costume off and swim and pose naked, all tastefully done. Now, this worked. Every single magazine in the world put Marilyn back on top, on the front pages. But she could have absolutely made thousands and thousands of pounds, totaling possibly in our money today over $1 million. But she didn't care about that. She said, no, I really just want, to be on the front covers again, to remind people that I am a movie star and I am still Marilyn Monroe. When they asked her, well, what would you like? She said, would it be possible to get a projector so I could look at the slides sometime myself? And apparently, according to the photographer, Larry Schiller, he almost burst into tears because he couldn't quite believe that's how little, she really requested. And as he pointed out in future interviews, he was able to put his kids through school, buy a house, and really set up his career. That's how generous she was. Marilyn was known for this. Previously she'd given cars away, all sorts of things in the past, because, she just felt that she could help people. She wasn't, motivated by money. Her famous line, of course, was, "I just want to be wonderful." Many might say, having heard this story today and how she walked away from $1 million in money, given the fact that when she died, she was almost penniless and owing money, why did she do it? But that really is truly the mystery of Marilyn Monroe. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.